Welcome yet again to another episode of Dinner Guide. My name is Chef Andy, your regular host, and today I'm going to be taking you through a beautiful journey of Italian cuisine. I'm going to be showing you how to make a beautiful 20-minute dinner, a very convenient dish, very simple, and something you can make in the span of about 10 to 15 minutes. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce my ingredients. I've got some Parmesan cheese there. I've got some beautiful back bacon. I've got some eggs, some red and white onions. I've got some linguine pasta, some salt, some unsalted butter, and some garlic cloves there. So without further ado, I'm going to give you this chance now to take a quick break and grab your pens and papers if you are taking notes for this particular episode. And when we come back from the short break, I'll show you how to turn these beautiful ingredients into a very beautiful pasta dish. See you in the short break. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who missed out on the introduction, we are going to be making a very simple comfort food today. We are going to be making something very much Italian, something that you can be able to make in a very short span of time, something that you don't really need a lot of prep to do. It's just something you can be able to make in a very short amount of time, something you can also be able to make in advance and actually save it as well, or carry it even with you for a snack or a lunch to your offices or to school if you're sending your kids home with some packed lunch. And I'm definitely sure most of you are going to be able to do this at home. So I'm just going to start by chopping up some of this beautiful bacon. So for this particular recipe, I'm going to be working with back bacon. Original recipe for this particular dish, I would have gone with pancetta, but I'm actually working with bacon because it's a little more easy to find in your regular outlets, and at least this particular product is one that most of you are familiar with. But if you are able to get your hands on some pancetta, I recommend go for it. So we're just going to start by chopping up our bacon, and I'm just going to chop this into some nice thin strips. And what we're going to do is we're going to fry the bacon first of all. We're just going to let it cook in its own fat, and then basically I'm just going to show you how to build the dish from there. Something you also need to have ready when you're making the dish, always have a nice big pot of water going. This is because you are going to be dipping your pasta in there, you're going to be cooking it, and it is going to just go directly into the pan. Right. So very handy, just a tiny amount of oil. This is just to make sure you do get a beautiful fragrance out of your bacon as well while you're frying. I'm just going to lay those all around the pan. Right, so something to always remember when working with bacon, remember bacon is a very fatty kind of meat. It's actually a pork. Pork is actually very fatty. One thing you do need to remember when working with bacon, remember it's very high in calories. So if you are watching your calories, I would recommend you can alternatively go with something like maybe some lean chicken breast if you are trying to bring the carbs down. But if you are feeling like spoiling yourself and you're feeling festive, as I said earlier, pancetta is a very good superior product to bacon. If you can be able to get your hands on some, do get some for yourself. But if you cannot, I know back bacon or rindless bacon works really well, and it's a little easier to actually purchase in your regular outlets. Right, so I'm just going to fry those. We're just going to give those a bit of color. And while that continues, I'm just going to quickly chop up some white onion. just looking for a very beautiful fine chop. And then also always remember to make sure that if you are going to be working with bacon, always make sure to take precaution and read the details on the packaging. It is very bad. It is actually unfortunate if you have to make this beautiful dish with some bacon that's not fresh. First of all, pork being a very, very delicate kind of a meat. So I always insist, if you are going to be buying meat that's already packaged and frozen, always read the dates. Make sure it's still within consumable time so you actually avoid infecting yourself or just ruining your system with a bit of food poisoning. So always do take big precaution when you're buying your bacon. Right, so into our hot pan, we're just going to add a bit of the white onions. Always just give that a stir. So I'm just going to turn my heat a little higher. Remember, I'm just trying to get the bacon really crispy. And the reason why we're adding the onions and we're not adding any more oil, remember we want all the onions to really suck up all that extra oil from the bacon and also allow the onions to actually get a bit of flavor. Right, and to that we're just going to add also one small red onion. So I'm just going to quickly chop this up. Should be about okay. So I'm using the two different types of onions because first of all, you do get a very nice buttery flavor from the white onion. You do get a bit of pungency, and actually the red onion really gives it a bit of a taste and a bit of a kick. But if you do decide to go with only one variety of onions, or if you do want to work with a different kind like leeks or spring onions, they can actually really incorporate well into this dish. Right, the bacon's now looking really good. I'm just going to add a small knob of butter. So particularly for this dish, I'm using butter just to really get a beautiful taste out of the bacon. Remember, butter always gives a nice, beautiful, velvety finish to a pasta dish. And this would be also substituted with anything in relation to cream or cooking cream. That will also give a nice, beautiful, velvety finish to the dish. And it actually gives it a little bit of weight. So for even a small portion for one, you really get a nice, beautiful serving. And this can actually be able to push you right through the night or even through your day if you're having it as a snack for lunch. Right, simple as that. Now I'm only going to now add about 2 cloves of garlic. Just going to peel those quickly. So I always insist, if you're going to be working with garlic, try and peel it just before you use it. There are instances where most of you probably enjoy mincing your garlic and leaving it in the fridge. Remember one thing about keeping anything in your refrigerator for too long, first of all, it loses its taste, it loses its pungency, and it loses its freshness. So I'm always going to insist, if you're going to be working with anything in relation to garlic, ginger, or herbs, always try and use them fresh, especially for a pasta dish, because the freshness of the pasta and the beauty of the dish actually comes from the freshness of your ingredients. Right, so I'm just going to quickly chop that garlic finely. That's gonna go into our bacon. So bacon is now been frying for about 4 minutes and it's now starting to brown. We're definitely getting the color we were looking for. Right, Right, so this is about done. I'm just going to lower the temperature a little bit. And then to the pot on the side here, all I'm going to be adding in there is a tiny little bit of olive oil. And we're also going to be seasoning that with a little bit of salt. So I'm using regular iodized salt. You can also use sea salt. It does make the difference. It does bring a bit of flavor to the dish. And we can actually turn the bacon off now. So something I can also mention to you about the linguine. I particularly like linguine for this dish because it actually looks really appealing when you actually mix it up with the bacon much later. But you're not limited to working with linguine. There are so many other varieties out there. You can go with tagliatelle, you can go with spaghetti, you can go with fettuccine. Any pasta that really makes your day, and if it actually makes you happier to buy that particular brand of pasta, it will really just incorporate well into this dish. Right, so we're just going to give our water just a few seconds. It's now just about coming to the boil. Now we should be good to go. So one technique I've always enjoyed about making any dinners, especially quick and handy meals with pasta, it really makes a bit of a difference as well to your budget, especially if you're really trying to be economic and you're really trying to watch your diet. Pasta is a very good addition to your meals, a very good source of fiber, very low carbs, and it's actually very recommended that you actually include a little bit of pasta in your dish every now and then. Remember, the beautiful thing about meals these days is there's so much variety to go with, and I particularly like to show you how to make pasta on this show because there are a lot of people out there who don't get a chance to actually try out different things, or people who are actually stuck with using the same old starches like rice and potatoes. This is actually a very good substitute. It's affordable, so I do recommend if you do get into the supermarket next time and you're not a fan of pasta, buy one packet, try it out. So many recipes online, you can actually be able to try them out, or you can be able to try the same one we're doing today. So I'm using just about, so this is about a portion and a half for an adult portion, but this will definitely be sufficient to give two kids maybe under 10. But for an adult portion, I'm looking for about 50 to 60 grams a portion. So we're just going to drop our pasta in there. We're just going to give that a bit of time, but I always insist when you're making your pasta, always be sure to just continue mixing through, because first, one thing you need to remember, pasta will really stick to itself. Remember, it's actually it's a product that's made from dough, and what happens is as soon as it hits hot water, it actually starts to stick to itself. So always have a spoon similar to mine or something similar that can do the same thing. Always try and give it a mix as it continues cooking. This actually avoids the pasta from sticking to, from the pasta sticking to itself. Just going to give that a nice quick mix like that. We're just going to let that continue for a few minutes. And while that continues, we're going to jump into a short commercial break. I'm going to give you a chance to freshen up. And when you come back, I'm going to now show you how to complete the dish. And we're going to serve it. And I'm just going to conclude by telling you a few other bits or pieces that you need to also be paying attention, especially if you're working with high carbohydrate meals. See you after the short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We took a short commercial break and now I'm just about to finish this beautiful pasta dish we are working on. First of all, going to start by getting our pan back on the burner. So for those who are just catching up, if you just joined the show, we have been working on a pasta dish from scratch, and basically we started by frying some bacon in a pan just to try and cook off all that excess oil and all that excess fat. We incorporated in there a bit of red onion and some white onion and some garlic. We let that sit and cool off for a little bit, and now our pasta is just about ready. So we're just going to go and finish off the dish. So first I'll start off by taking my pasta out of the water, and for that I always insist, always have a strainer next to you when you want to do so. It's a little easier to get your pasta out of the water and into a separate pan. And remember, because you're actually trying to cook it, you're not trying to really cook it and add any more water in there. You don't really want to carry that excess water from your pot on one side and put it on the other one. So it's always handy to have your strainer next to you. It does actually save you the stress of having to rinse your pasta and come back to the dish. Right, so our linguine is just about 3/4 way cooked. And all I'm going to do with that now is we're going to add that into our pasta. And I'm only going to use just a bit of the water from our pasta there, just to make sure our dish is not too dry. All I'm going to do is just give that a mix. And basically the beauty of adding the water that you are cooking with the pasta, it actually just helps the dish to get a little creamier, so you'll be able to see that in a little bit. Now to that we're going to add just a bit of Parmesan cheese. So I'm adding about 2 tablespoons, and I'm just going to reserve some for finishing off the dish. All you want to do in this stage is just toss it. Remember, your bacon is already cooked, so you're basically just tossing the ingredients to give them a mix. And it's as simple as that. And that can now come off the heat. I'm just going to turn off my gas. And I'm going to be using a pair of tongs to plate. So this is actually a very good pair of tongs if you're plating pasta with. But if you don't have this particular set of tongs, you can always work with what you have. And if you still don't have any tongs at all, you can actually just be able to do the same trick with a spoon or with a fork, or any particular pointed device, utensils that you may have in your kitchen. But particularly for this one, I always insist, if you have tongs, use them. If you have a fork, it'll still do the same thing. So all I'm going to do is just try and get our pasta to just melt right around the tongs. I'm just going to give that a twist. This is just to be able to help me to lift it out of the pan and onto the plate. So there's not really a particular secret to this, but it just looks better presentation-wise. So we're just going to grab our plate. Now all I'm going to do is just lift that off the pan there. We're just going to move that onto our plate. So the beauty of serving your pasta this way, it actually helps you to try and keep your plate a little cleaner. It actually helps you also portion it out really well. So there are different variations to the same dish. Particularly if you think of classic pasta dishes like a pasta carbonara, you'd probably be incorporating some pecorino cheese to that. You'd probably be adding also some, you'd probably also be incorporating some parsley. But in most cases, most pasta dishes that you will see out there, most of them actually come and they actually insist that you use a bit of cream just to make sure your pasta is a little richer and a little more interesting. But I insist, if you're really trying to be healthy and keeping your carbs down, you don't really have to go as far as going in with the cream. A slight knob of butter will still give you the same pleasant taste in your mouth, and it will still be appetizing to your guests. Right, so simple as that. Just going to reserve that. And now all I'm going to do is use my tongs, and I'm just going to spread out a few more pieces of our beautiful fried bacon. So ladies and gentlemen, definitely not a dish that is vegetarian friendly. If you are going to be making the dish and you do have a diner particularly that does not eat pork or does not eat any meat, you can always substitute this with vegetables, and with vegetables you can go a whole long way. You could use peas, you could use carrots, you could use gherkins, you could use anything particularly that just makes you enjoy your pasta a little more. And now for this particular one, different technique to making this particular one, but the recipe was actually derived from the original pasta carbonara. I would serve it just the same way I'm doing it now, but I would probably have to incorporate pecorino cheese and Parmesan cheese just to give it that beautiful richness. So we're just going to move that onto the plate. And all we do is finish it off a bit of cheese. And last but not least, we do have some eggs that we had reserved earlier. I'm just going to show you how to finish that off. And that we are going to be frying in a separate pan. So I'm just going to get my heat up. So definitely a particular, an interesting finish to a pasta dish. There are many techniques to incorporate eggs into your pasta dish. You could actually just mix it in once the pasta is into the pan and you've got your bacon and everything mixing together. You could actually crack the egg into the pan and mix it together. I'm particularly very fond of just having a nice, beautiful sunny side up egg with my pasta. So I'm just going to show you how to do a very simple sunny side up egg. So first thing we'll do, just get a bit of oil on the pan. And for that particular reason, I'm going to be using a mold, stainless steel mold. And I'm just going to grease it just slightly on the inside. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have most of the apparatus we're using on TV, you can actually move around. A lot of outlets out there do have the same equipment we're using today. If you are going to be looking for this particular one, you'll just ask them to show you a plating mold or just a stainless steel mold. They do come in different sizes and shapes, so pick one that works for you. But if you're not really fond of working with such, you can actually just avoid them and cook your egg as you'd normally do any other day. Right, pan is nice and hot, so all I'm going to do is drop the mold right in the center of the pan. Now we're just going to crack an egg in there. So one beautiful thing about using the molds, they do actually make a difference when you're trying to make a visual appeal with presentation. Remember, food is always about taste and about creativity. And particularly when you're making a dish, it's always nice to give that extra effort. It actually makes you even enjoy your dish a little more. When you put that extra effort in it, you try and make it look a little better than what you've seen on TV. I'm always insisting over and over, please don't stick with everything we do on the show. Do try your own techniques, do a bit of research, find your own way, find something that works for you. And if the techniques we're using work for you as well, you could always go with the book way that we're doing it on TV now. But there are endless amount of recipes out there, so do take some time and actually do a bit of research, see what else is out there. Look at also a few other different techniques from different chefs. And basically, as I said, cooking is all about passion, it's all about creativity, it's all about expression, so let your food speak for itself. Right, so my egg is now done. Just going to move that onto the plate, turn off the heat. So as you can see, I'm using the mold. It's a very, very simple technique. All I'm going to do is just give it a few shakes. And this should actually just lift off the pan very, very easily. Just going to set that aside. Now I'm just going to transfer my beautiful sunny side up egg right on top. So ladies and gentlemen, very, very simple pasta dish. I have actually enjoyed showing you how to make this. I hope you're all now curious and you're all going to go and try this out. As I said, plenty of recipes out there. Do try your own techniques. Do try different ways. Find your comfort zone. And when you do find it, enjoy your pasta dish. From the studios and myself, it has been a pleasure. You have been tuned into Dinner Guide, and I'm Chef Andy. The dish we were making today is a very, very simple dish, just linguine pasta with bacon, eggs, and Parmesan cheese. Do leave your comments and inquiries. Leave any questions on our Facebook page, and I'll be happy to get back to you. And until the next episode, have a lovely day.